I mean, I don't. Yeah. Well, then maybe, yeah, I already had it for it. Yeah, we're better than us. Especially, you know,
Are you guys ready?
watch, good to go. Right?
Get this. Test. Folks online, can you hear me? Can someone give me a thumbs up if I am audible? Thank you so much. Okay, the time is now 6 p.m. and the regular meeting for the Ala Moana Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board is now called to order.
Put me in the middle.
Okay, if we can get a roll call for attendance, please.
Okay. Chang.
Here.
Thank you. Chi.
Here.
Arenas. Not here yet. Hashimoto.
Here.
Oh, sorry. Morella. Not here yet. Ran.
Present.
Thank you. Rice. Here. Vanderbrink. Chung.
Present.
Chair.
Here.
And 8 members present. You have quorum.
Thank you. Okay. 1.2 is candidate forum. So we are going to go through our board meeting as quickly as we can to dedicate time to our candidate forum. Just wanted to give everyone a heads up. I know for the agencies and the public officials' offices, I sent an email to send us their written reports that can be accessed on Google Drive. So thank you folks for being able to do that. Okay. Moving on to public safety reports, Honolulu Fire Department. No fire department. But we do have agenda item 2.2, the Honolulu Police Department, with very great attendance, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm Kendrick Noda. I'm a sergeant in District 1. Over the stats from last month, motor vehicle thefts, we had 12, and the previous month had 16. Burglaries, we had 4 in June. In the previous month, there was 3. Thefts went from 100 to was 104 previously. UAVs 7. The previous month was 8. Assaults was 24. The previous month was 23. Sex assaults was at 1. Previous month was at 2. PDs was at 0. Previous month was at 4. Drugs was at 4. And the previous month was 5. And motor vehicle collisions was at 96. And the previous month was 123. The total cost for service for the month of June was 3,202. And the previous month was 3,308. August 3rd, the kids go back to school. Public school starts. It's gonna be more pedestrians and just be more vigilant for the crosswalks and pedestrians walking in the area. Any questions?
Thank you. Board members, any questions for HPD? Second Vice Chair Vanderbrink.
Thank you, Chair. So kind of a broken record, I'll admit, but we've had another shooting on Kona Street. And I know I've brought this up before to ask if there's anything HPD can do about it. And the response I know I've received has been manpower, that you can't constantly patrol the area in the after midnight hours. So I'm just kind of curious, especially with the string of shootings over the last 6 months in the area, is there anything you can recommend that businesses can do in the area to better protect their patrons or better protect the people on the street and to help try and prevent these shootings and fights from breaking out?
Prevention is hard, right? I mean, it's hard to prevent anything that occurs. But for businesses, of course, surveillance cameras is really important. It could be a repeat offender from the past. Without surveillance cameras and uncooperative witnesses in the area, we're kind of stuck. You know, and these kind of places that where the shootings are at, a lot of times witnesses are not helpful at all. You know, but surveillance cameras would be awesome. It became, I know it's a lot of money out of their own pocket, but it does help with our investigation on our side to complete the charge. You have to find something.
And just to throw it out there, could better lighting, could bars perhaps closing earlier out in that area also help in terms of it?
Bar hours is out of our control. That's liquor commission. That we have to brought up with them. We just enforce the law rather than the times of operation.
Yeah, I just asked you, given your expertise in the area, especially with the shootings, I'm pretty sure HPD is more well aware of the problems in the area than some of us would be. So that's why I just wanted to ask. Right. Thank you.
Okay, Member Chung.
Thanks, officers. So, we've been talking about the camera thing. So the owners of establishments under their own recognizance can install these things. Also, lighting is another technology maybe that we could recommend to them. Any other technological suggestions? We got lighting, we got cameras, anything else we can do to help you guys?
I don't know. I'm not a technical person. I'm sorry. I don't know that side. As for HPD side, I don't know what the limits they can do. I'm pretty sure they can explain better. They'll explain it more.
Okay, thanks.
First Vice Chair Rice.
Hi, thanks for being here, all of you. We appreciate it very much. I just wanted to commend HPD on July 14th's presentation with JL Capital for the presentation on safety, basically, and what's happening in the Keomoku area. That was fabulous. And I know a lot of us, Chair and Second Vice Chair JL, three of us were there. It was outstanding. And what we would like to do, we have to put our heads together, and we haven't done this yet, is have similar presentations in a couple of different areas of our district. I think a lot of people, I don't even think there was enough people there from the Keimoku area, meaning businesses. And I think certainly in light of what's been going on along Kona Street by Moana Shopping Center, and so many small incidents in the Ward Village area, and then all the way to Salt. I think businesses sometimes feel helpless. I know my store was robbed 5 years ago, and we just didn't know what to do other than upgrade the alarm system. Thank goodness it hasn't happened again. But I think knowledge is power, and if public is armed with knowledge, then things can change, and hopefully the bad guys won't be coming back in. So again, thank you for doing that. It was just an outstanding presentation. We all thought so, and we'll be reaching out.
Yes, thank you very much. So once again, my name is Scott Matsumura. I'm the captain for District 1. So I did attend that meeting with you as well. And yeah, I agree. That was an excellent meeting. That was put on by our District 1 community policing team. I'll definitely pass on your sentiments to them. And yes, feel free to have any other community groups reach out to us if they want to organize another meeting or informational session just like that. We'd be more than happy to accommodate them. And then just to go over a couple of just briefly the questions that you guys had on the last month's meeting. I know you asked a bunch of times regarding those, those stanchions that are down by Kapiolani and Sheridan. Unfortunately, I can't say anything about fixing it because, again, we have to defer to DTS. We do also still encourage people to report that through 311. So, the flyers on the table, you guys can make use of that app or do it online. And then that'll get directly addressed by them. Hopefully, they know about it, but we just don't know the timeline. But as far as the accidents over there, we did look up the stats for the past year, and depending on how the stats are entered or how the call actually comes in, it might affect the accuracy of the location for the accidents. But when we looked up the accidents for that specific intersection over the past 1 year, there's only been 3. So I know it sounds kind of low, but like I said, it could just be because of that's how they entered it into the call on the location for where it was reported and where they said the accident took place. So since last month, there was 0. So the 3 occurred over the past year. And as far as your other questions that you had earlier regarding dangerous dogs or dog bite cases, that's not something that we normally track regarding our neighborhood board stats like Sergeant just presented. And even that, I know some of the cases may have been high profile in the news, especially with the recent one, earlier this year. But even those in our district, in your area of responsibility for this neighborhood board, there's only been one so far. So that's good news that there's not that many cases as much as people might have thought. But it could also be because maybe sometimes even if you see it happen, they might not be reporting it. We just don't know because we won't be able to track it if nobody reports it. But we did go back and there was one dangerous dog case. And that was just involving, I guess, just a pack of small dogs. They ended up kind of, little ankle biters, but they ended up kind of attacking somebody. But it wasn't serious because they're such small animals. And as far as the high-profile case that you asked about, whether or not that person was picked up, they were arrested for their warrant shortly before last month's meeting, and they're currently going through the legal process to address those charges.
Thank you. Member Hashimoto and then member Rand online.
I just wanted to say thank you, Captain Matsumura. Saw you at the Coffee with a Cup at the Keomoka McDonald's
Thank you for coming.
this month, July 14th. And thank you guys for always holding that so that the neighborhood can come down and speak to you guys about the problems and the turnout from HPD and is really great at that one. And thank you
Yes,
so much for
And
doing that.
that's another event that's we really have to give credit to our awesome District 1 community policing team. They really do a lot of hard work in organizing those events and getting community participation. So we really appreciate you guys coming out to those events as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Member Rand online.
Hi there. I just wanted to follow up. I did bring up the fact that there is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that there have been a lot of street racers and, loud mufflers in the ward area. About 2 weeks ago, there was a caravan that came through. They were going around Ala Beach Park, all the way by Whole Foods, going around Ward and Kapiolani. So I did call 911. I did a non-emergency, and I have to say, within 7 minutes, somebody called me back. They tracked the caravan. They called to verify some of the vehicles, and they stopped it. So great work, great response. And I want to just say that was just, I was so impressed. So thank you very much for the follow-up. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank
Great
you very
job.
much. Thank you. We'll
Thank you.
definitely pass that along to our patrol units as well and the officers on the street. They would really appreciate hearing those kind of feedback from you as well in the public.
Yes, awesome.
thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
And one more from First Vice Chair Rice.
Thank you. I just want to ask one other question. Today, in particular, I noticed, and probably in the last 10 days, a lot more police presence on the ATVs in Moana Beach Park.
Okay.
Is that by design? Is it because of complaints and today there was around 11 o'clock in the morning.
Not particularly in this case, just for today, but that is one of their main areas of concern that they do patrol regularly is the beach park because being on the ATVs it affords them a greater mobility and areas that they can reach with those instead of being on foot or just driving in a car. They go all over, Ala Park, Cartwright Field, all those different parks within our district. But obviously, Ala Moana being such a, I guess, the major park in our district, they do kind of focus a lot of their efforts there. But today was a normal day for them. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Another one from Second Vice Chair Vanderbrink.
Yeah, not a question, but I just want to thank you guys again for coming out here more in force because it's definitely a lot better than it was, say, 7 months ago or even a year ago.
Sure.
And we definitely appreciate the attention to show up here in person and to answer our questions. And, with the new HPD chief, if he wants to attend our board meetings just once, just to see our board meetings and hear our concerns, we would love that as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm sure we'll definitely pass that along, but he has been going around, but I believe he's at a different one tonight or a different meeting tonight. So yeah, sorry, he couldn't make it to this one. But, and also sorry to just address your other concern you brought up earlier. So we are having increased cooperation and communication with Liquor Commission, especially on the weekends for our night watch officers and our lieutenants have been coordinating with them as well. So they do occasionally come out with us and do inspections in the bars and nightclubs. They track it differently though. So sorry, I don't have any stats from what they do on their side, but they have been coming out more frequently than what I guess we're used to. So we're trying to get their involvement increased as well to help us all out. So,
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any community members that have questions for HP who is here today? Anyone online? Okay, Captain Matsumura and the rest of HPD, thank you all for being here.
So sorry, real quick, I just want to introduce, this is our Major, Henry Roberts. He's returned from training, so if you would like to say hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
And then we also have a short informational session if you have the time. This is our acting or Assistant Chief, Brian Lynch. He has some information on a new program that we're starting up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Assistant Chief Lynch with the Honolulu Police Department. I work for the Special Field Operations Bureau. I'm here tonight just to share with you, the community, a project that we're going to roll out in August. It's called Drones as a First Responder. We call it DFR for short. I'm here so you can have clarity on what it is and what it's not. And we wanted to come in person and afford you opportunity to ask questions. But let me explain what it is. So Drones as a First Responder is a program where we use small drones that are stationed around this area, because we're going to do the pilot in District 1, which is this area, and District 5, which is Kalihi. These drones will respond to 911 calls. So the nice lady that talked about the cars in the caravan, if that's a 911 call, we can launch a drone and it can get to the area like lickety split, right? Because they don't have traffic, they don't have traffic lights, right? And it doesn't mean that officers won't go on the ground. They'll still go, but the drone will get there first and they can say, oh, hey, the guy's on the ground, the caravan is going this way on this street. And, you know, we can, the situational awareness that's provided by the instantaneous on the spot viewing is awesome. It's great for officer safety and it's great for catching bad guys. The fights at the bars, right? If there's a fight, there's a 911 call, the drone can fly there and get there before the beat officers. They can talk to the beat officers as they're arriving on the scene. They can say, the guy walking over there in the red shirt, he's the guy that was fighting the other guy. You know, situational awareness is what it provides. It also provides a higher level of safety for the community. If there's a missing child or if there's a kapuna that wandered away from their home, people call 911, somebody's missing. The drone goes out super fast before the other officers can get there. And because it's higher in the air, it can see and observe the area. And, you know, if we know if Uncle Joe is wearing a red shirt and jeans, there's a guy in a red shirt and jeans over here on the park, and can direct the ground units over there. And then, you know, we find Uncle Joe and he gets back home, no problem, right? Just as perspective, DFR is done in all 50 states in the United States. Maui actually is doing it right now. So it's not a new thing. We're kind of late to the party, but you know, we're rolling it out in August. For transparency, we're going to have a web page at honolulupd.org. You can go to the web page. It tells you everything what DFR is. It tells you everything that it's not. It'll have our policy posted so you can read it and feel comfortable that we're doing what we're supposed to and not doing things that we're not supposed to. And there'll even be a link there that if you had questions about it, you can submit a question and then we'll get back to you so you feel comfortable about, again, what it is and what it's not. So I just came here in person just to share that with you. When you look up in the sky and you see a blue light flashing, that's probably us. To be clear, it's only in response to 911 calls. They don't go out looking for things. They don't go looking in buildings and all that kind of stuff. It's not like that at all. So you shouldn't see one peeking in your window or anything like that. It's just strictly in response to 911 calls. Anybody have any questions?
Questions from the board. Second Vice Chair Vanderbeek.
Can I ask what altitude the drones will be at and if there's going to be any FAA restrictions as a result?
There are FAA restrictions. Our pilots are FAA certified. We have all the certifications and everything that we need to do the program. Typically what we do is we fly at 200 or less. We don't go above 200.
So that would be in between buildings, am I understanding that, based on the height of the buildings in that area?
The drone goes and flies between buildings.
Okay. So is there any risk of collision with buildings?
These
or-
drones have avoidance systems. So even though if the pilot doesn't see something, they'll automatically avoid things like buildings and other airplanes and stuff like that. Typically we're allowed to fly in that range because there's nothing else at that range. Everybody else is above that range.
Yeah.
There are certain areas where we have to be in contact with the tower at the airport. The drone sends out signals to other aircraft that sends out signals that we get and we have on our radar. So it's quite advanced. It's not like the drone you buy down at Best Buy. I mean, it's really advanced stuff, and it's really safe. Again, they're doing it in all 50 states, and Maui's doing it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
First Vice Chair Rice.
Will these drones have the ability to videotape an incident once it arrives?
So when it comes to these drones, yes is the answer to your question. There is a lot of big brothers watching sort of mentality attached to this. And because of that, there are guardrails in place with our policy, what it is that we can video and not video. From where the drone launches to where it's going, we don't video. We get to the place we're going to based on the 911 call, and then we start to record. If we see something on the recording, if there's a crime being committed, then that can be admissible in court. We come back to the station, we save that for 30 days. If it's connected to a crime, we can save it longer. And that's just, that's in line with our current policies with video evidence. No problem.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board or Member Rand?
Just a quick question. Are you going to be available to come back and discuss, the findings once this program has launched? So just we can, follow up with you at a later time?
Sure, we'll be available for that. Again, as we do it, you can go to our webpage. It'll have all that information. As transparency, you can look at flight logs that the drones automatically. So if we launch a drone, it keeps a flight log, and we're going to post those. We post those on the website. So if you're curious as to, oh, hey, I saw a drone outside of my house. Is this a PD drone? You can go to our website. You can look at the date, time, and it'll show where it went and when it came back. It has the GPS positions and everything. We have that in place just so you can feel confident that we're not doing, shenanigans and doing things where we shouldn't be, right? But to answer your question, sure, we can come back and, one of our goals is to provide some what we might call wins, right? So if we find Uncle Joe, we might share that video. If we find, if we solve a big crime, we all want to know that we're catching bad guys and we're making the community safer. By all means, we'll share that with you because, that's a win for the program. And we want you folks to like it as much as we like it. And so we want to be completely upfront, forward, transparent, no problem. Any questions? And again, you can go to our landing page on our site. You can ask a question. You can request for a meeting, and we're more than happy to come out and share with you, again, what it is and what it's not.
Thank you. Sounds like a great program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions from the board or community members, we will move on. HPD, Assistant Chief Lynch, and the rest of you who are all here today, we really appreciate your presence. It's very significant to us. So thank you. Okay, moving on to, I see Honolulu Fire Department.
Hello. All right. My name is Michael Waters, firefighter 3 out of Ladder 2, Paua. And this is Cap Marquino, Ladder 2. So statistics. The statistics provided below represent confirmed number of incidents in the neighborhood board's geographical area for the previous month. For more details on the incidents and related mapping information, please visit the fire response search tool on our HFD website at fire.honolulu.gov under the news and info tab. And any questions, email hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. So for June 2026 fires, we have 0 structure fires, 0 wildland brush fires, 6 nuisance fires, 1 cooking fire, and 32 activated alarms with no fire. And then emergencies, we have medicals, 150. We have 1 motor vehicle collision with a pedestrian, 3 motor vehicle collisions or crash, 0 mountain rescues, 0 ocean rescues, and 1 hazardous materials incidents. Nuisance fires include rubbish fires outside a structure or vehicle. And then the safety tip of the month is hiking safety. So popular summer activities often include hiking or beautiful island trails. Here are some helpful tips to ensure you enjoy your adventure safely. So plan ahead, choose a trail that is within your skill and stamina level. You can visit www.hawaiitrails.org for more information about our official trails. Check the weather. Remember to factor in rain, wind, and swell forecasts. Stay on the trail. Never leave the trail or endanger yourself for a photo. Bring a buddy. Ensure someone knows your plan. And watch the time. Just make sure you can return home before it gets dark. And that's it. You guys have any questions?
Thank you. Questions from the board? Member Chung?
Hi, about the numbers. So 32 activated, but no fires discovered. That's by far the vast majority of all of your calls, right? So what are the details about what's going on typically when you go there? Is it that the battery's expired and it's just beeping? Is it there was smoke there? What is your experience with this?
Could be any number of those things. Could be a malfunction of the alarm system itself. Could be some smoke or condensation or humidity, or could be anything besides actual fire.
I can add to that. So majority of these activated alarms are in commercial settings, so not private residences. So like if someone's smoke detector in their home is going off, unless it's wired into an alarm system that is set to alert police and fire, that's not something we usually go to. So these are mostly commercial things, high-rise buildings, restaurants, things like that, shopping centers, things like that. Yeah. So, and like Michael was saying, usually caused just by a malfunction in the system. Yeah.
So in this case, what we're talking about is private maintenance. If these people would keep up better, would that lighten this load?
It could. I don't necessarily think it would lighten it a lot. It's yeah, various things can cause this malfunction. Weather, shorts, things like that. So yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Community members, either in person or online? Okay, Honolulu Fire Department, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, the time is now 6:27. Presentations in light of the candidate forum. After this, no presentations are scheduled for this board meeting. Board business, election of officers. So every year we elect the officers for the neighborhood board to serve from July 1st to June, July to June 30th. So it's for the position of chair, first vice chair, second vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. Do we have any nominations for chair?
I'd I'd like to nominate Kathleen Lee for board chair.
I second that.
Thank you. Camilla will be doing a roll call vote.
Sorry, okay, we'll do this really quickly. Election for chair, and candidate is Kathleen Lee. Chang,
Yes.
Chi,
Yes.
Chung,
Yes.
Barines, Hashimoto,
Yes.
Morella,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rice, Vanderbrink, and Kathleen.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you, board, for electing me again for another term. Moving on to first vice chair, nominations for first vice chair.
I would like to nominate Jeannie.
Second.
Okay, another roll call vote for Ms. Jeannie Rice for first vice chair.
Okay. Chang,
Yes.
Chi,
Yes.
Chung,
Yes.
Barines, Hashimoto,
Yes.
Morella,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rice, Vanderbrink, and chair.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Moving on to nominations for second vice chair.
I nominate Dale Vanderbrink.
Okay, another roll call vote for second vice chair for Dale Vanderbrink.
Okay. Chang,
Yes.
Chi,
Yes.
Chung,
Yes.
Farinas, Hashimoto,
Yes.
Morella,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes.
Vanderbrink, and Chair.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
Okay, thank you for another unanimous vote, guys. Okay, moving on to secretary, nominations for secretary for the board.
I'd like to nominate Ka'ili.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna have to refuse that nomination.
Any other nominations for secretary?
I nominate Farinas, board member Farinas.
Second.
Okay, another roll call vote for member Lori Farinas for secretary.
Okay, Chang,
Yes.
Chi,
Yes.
Chung,
Yes.
Farinas, Hashimoto,
Yes.
Morella,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes.
Vanderbrink, Chair.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
Moving on to nomination for treasurer. Do we have any nominations for treasurer of the board?
Do we need one? Just to leave it open.
I nominate Dyson Chi, please. Yeah. We'll give you some money.
I second that.
Okay, member Dyson Chi has been nominated for treasurer. Roll call vote, please.
Chang,
Yes.
Chi,
Yes.
Chung,
Yes.
Farinas,
Yes.
Hashimoto,
Yes.
Morella,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes.
Vanderbrink, Chair.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
Okay, we've now elected the officers for July to June 30th, 2027. Thank you, board. Moving on to the determination of the recess schedule. We typically have it in December 2026. If anyone, we'll just go through this. If anyone is opposed to that, let me know. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Just a quick question for November. Will Thanksgiving fall on our board meeting?
Yeah, but it doesn't, it's the same week, but it's not. We've typically never, yeah, So we haven't taken it off because it would be too big of a break, November and December, unless anyone wants to vote on, oh, go ahead. Member Hashimoto? Okay, so is the board okay with just December? If anyone is opposed? Okay, so our break for this year will be December 2026. Okay, moving on to the approval of the June 23rd, 2026 regular meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, if I can get a motion to approve the minutes.
I approve that. We approve. Let's approve the minutes.
I second.
Can't talk tonight.
Okay, if anyone is opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you, board. The minutes have been approved. Okay, moving on to 4.4, board vacancy for sub-district 3. Do we have any interest in filling the position for sub-district 3? Okay, you can go ahead and come up to the mic.
Good evening. I'm Rick Egged, and I live in Pacifica. I think it's in Sub-District 3, right? Yeah.
Can you just tell us a little bit about who you are?
I just retired on July the 1st as from being president of the Waikiki Improvement Association for 27 years. And before that, I worked for the state. My last job there was I was the state planning director. And I love this community. I really do. I don't even own a car anymore. I walk everywhere. And I would be
very grateful if I could join you folks on the board and help make the community even better. Although it's difficult, it's such a great community.
Okay, and do you have any, we need to verify your residency. So did you bring anything today that
I have a
indicates your-
driver's license.
Okay, yeah. We'll go ahead and take that. Second Vice Chair Vandenbrink.
If there's no other nominations, then I would like to nominate Rick to take a position in Subdistrict 3 on our board.
Okay, let's wait for Kamea to verify Mr. Egged's address, and thank you again for your interest in being part of our board.
While she's checking, I would like to ask you, with given your experience in Waikiki, how do you see that helping us here in our district?
Well, I've always defined my role as an urban planner. And to me, there's still so much going on in our district. And I think that, this is really the future of Honolulu, has to be to fill in the urban core, because that's where we should put the people. One of the kind of little known facts is that of the 492 major metropolitan areas in the United States, Honolulu is 492nd in road miles per capita. We have the least amount of roads per person of any major city, any city in the country, really. And I think the next nearest was like Long Beach, and they have like 2.11 and we have 1.55. I mean, it's not even close. So what we really need to do is develop a community that's built around the bus system. We have one of the best bus systems in the country. I have a senior bus pass. I think it's the best deal in town, $45 unlimited bus rides, and so when it comes down to that future, our district is right in the middle of it. And so I think it's really important that we're careful. Actually, there's always people who are critical of decisions, but I actually think that Hawaii has done a pretty good job of planning in the past and going into the future. We control our tourism. We keep tourism as a very specific areas. We don't let it proliferate, at least legally, throughout the community. And so I think that planning going forward and making sure that we don't do anything to disrupt what a great community we have, and instead build on our success is the reason that I'm interested in. And I think that my experience in Waikiki and with local government would be beneficial.
Thank you, Mr. Egged. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to make a quick comment. I completely agree with you about the public transportation. My bus pass was just raised to $110 a month by certain members of the city council who are not in this room. So it's just want to point that out.
Thank you, Second Vice Chair Vanderbrink. Let's go ahead and call for the vote to have Mr. Rick Egged be part of the Ala Moana Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board representing Subdistrict 3. Camelia?
Chang,
Yes.
Chi,
Yes.
Chung,
Aye.
Marinas, Hashimoto,
Yes.
Morella,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes.
Vanderbrink,
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
10 ayes, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. The motion passes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Egged. You can go ahead and have a seat right there. So we'll go ahead and recess real quick for Mr. Egged to be sworn in.
That's so painless. They're much more streamlined. I like that.
We're done. Okay, the board is now back in session. Moving on, Action Committee updates from First Vice Chair Jeannie Race and Second Vice Chair Dale Vanderbrink. If you have any, please go ahead and do so now.
Thank you. So we had our first session with our elected officials with Kaka'ako on the 9th of July. It was so enlightening and very helpful to hear his point of view on many of the needs of our district, and and he answered our questions completely and very transparently. So we really appreciate it. I really would like to encourage other members of the board to come at our next, and community members, to our next action committee meeting, which will be right here in the same room on August 13th, which is a Thursday, and Senator Sharon Moriwaki and Councilman Scott Nishimoto will be together for us to ask questions. Just come with your concerns about our district and maybe some solutions or advice. It's just a very nice open dialogue, and we're very appreciative of everyone willing to do this with us, and we have a lot of good ideas that came out of our session with Ikaika, and we hope that will continue with the upcoming sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. First Vice Chair Rice, second Vice Chair Vandenbrink.
Yep. Just to reiterate how good the conversation was, it was nearly 2 hours of talking with him, and we had 2 other community members besides both of us there. So it was really informative. And, in our board meetings, we have 3 minutes to talk to or to pose questions to them from the public, while in the one-on-one, we had the whole 2 hours. And unlike town halls where you're also limited on time, here you're not limited. So we can go much more in depth on the issue. So just want to encourage the community members, if you can come out to our action committee meeting to have more of these in-depth discussions. I encourage you.
Thank you, second Vice Chair Vandenbrink. Moving on to voter registration drive, Member Morala.
Oh, yes.
I think we locked down the Saturday to do whatever is left on the voter registration drive, or inform people about their local candidates. So still doing it. Thank you.
So if anyone is available for farmers market this Saturday, let Member Morala know. Thank you. Moving on, attendance, presence at other meetings and events. I think First Vice Chair Rice, you already mentioned the community meeting with HPD. If anyone else has any other events that they want to mention, otherwise we will move on to residents and community concerns. This is going to be 3 minutes per speaker. I know we had someone that emailed, Miss Anna Armstrong. Did you want to go ahead? Yes. And you have 3 minutes. Yeah. So go ahead and play your video first.
Yes, and if we can turn up the volume too. Instead of Max, you can do the.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Armstrong. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Aloha, my name is Anna Armstrong. The video you just watched is not from a construction site. It's from my children's bedroom in our brand new resort housing home at Otolana Ward Village. We bought this home believing it would be a safe place to raise our family. Instead, after just 12 days, our bodies could no longer handle the constant low frequency noise and vibration. After days of almost no sleep, I experienced intense physical stress. My heart was racing. I had headaches and nausea, and we had no choice but to evacuate our brand new home. Some sound dampening work was later performed, but this was over 8 months ago. Today, our children still cannot sleep or use their own bedrooms. School starts next week, and they still don't have a quiet place to sleep or do their homework. Instead, our family sleeps together in one room, using white noise every night just to mask the humming and vibration coming through the structure of the building. What has been even more difficult is what happened after we asked for help. Despite repeated requests, neither HOA or developer Howard Hughes has conducted a meaningful investigation inside our unit where my family actually lives. We have been told there are no material issues, yet about a week after an initial walkthrough, the Department of Health issued a noise violation. The vibration data later presented was collected in the stairwell not inside the rooms where my family sleeps every night. I want to respectfully address HCDA. Your mission is to provide safe, quality, affordable housing for local families. I ask that you help ensure that mission is fulfilled here. HCDA has suggested that I sell this home to another reserved housing family, but I have one simple question. If my children have been unable to sleep in or use their own bedrooms for the past 8 months, how can we in a good conscience ask another family to move into this home before complete independent investigation is conducted inside the unit? I'm not asking for the special treatment. I'm asking for accountability, transparency, and independent in-unit investigation so the truth is established before another family is placed in the same situation. Please don't let this become someone else's nightmare. Thank you.
Thank you. Test. Thank you, Ms. Armstrong, for being here and for that testimony.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, do we have any other community concerns? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Adams. You have 3 minutes if you could restate your name. Yes.
I'm still kind of new to this for 6 months. Can I ask you for an additional minute?
You can go ahead and start now.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good evening. My name is Todd Adams. I'm a professional CDL driver for the Handy Van at Oahu Transit Services. I am also a first-time homeowner at Ulana through the state's reserved housing program. Doug Johnstone has said Howard Hughes was committed from day one to responding promptly to resident concerns, working collaboratively with residents and community partners, treating each report seriously and using a comprehensive approach. He described this matter as thoroughly investigated and appropriately resolved. There is a major disconnect between those statements and what actually occurred. No one from Howard Hughes has ever come to my unit to test or meaningfully evaluate the reported conditions at the curtain wall or window locations. Instead of sending homeowner services or someone prepared to investigate and assist, Howard Hughes responded through its lawyers. Those lawyers called my reports self-serving, unsupported, and not credible, and entirely unfounded, and said my allegations appeared manufactured for ulterior purposes. Mr. Major later said I was making professional presentation based on my own personal assumption, told me there was no real evidence I had not generated myself, and said, I'm a lawyer. I don't go out there and tell a bus driver how to drive a bus. At the July 1 HCDA meeting, Mr. Major presented objective engineering measurements and ASHRAE vibration criteria as the applicable evidentiary benchmark. I agree with that standard. But the Senseo report was limited to just 2 measurement points on solid concrete somewhere inside of a stairwell. It does not state how long the measurements lasted, how many ACCU fans were operating, or what load or operating condition the system was under. It definitely did not test the curtain wall and window locations inside my home. Despite that, Mr. Major told me, you're 11 stories up from that, and there's definitely no issue 11 stories above the location. Mr. Major then presented that limited report publicly to HCDA as conclusive that no vibration issue from the mechanical room at Ulana exists. But at the same meeting, he also said neither homeowner had hired a third party to conduct testing. This was not true. The other homeowner had independent testing done by an acoustical engineering firm in November 2025 and notified Mr. Major in writing the next day. Most recently, Howard Hughes said it would consider the matter closed unless I allowed up to 5 representatives into my home for a 30-minute visit. My questions about the identities and roles of the visitors, the specific locations to be examined, whether measurements would be taken, whether subjective observations from the visit would be used to draw conclusions, and what would follow all remain unanswered.
Okay, Mr. Adams, thank you. We do have your written testimony. If you
That's
could
it?
wrap up.
Can I, how long do I have, 30 seconds?
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay.
But again, we.
I
do have your
respect,
written
can I read the
testimony.
last 2? Yeah, okay. I respectfully ask HCDA to consider what authority and responsibility it has when participants in reserved housing program are treated this way, and when machine-generated vibration from a building system intrudes into the peace and quiet of their homes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. And we'll make sure that this is uploaded on our drive as well, so it'll be publicly accessible. And we appreciate you and Ms. Armstrong coming to our board meetings to raise this matter. Okay, we have a community member online, Ms. Laura Ruby, for under community concerns. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Board. I would, at the outset, like to say that I'm asking you to put on for the next presentation in the next month, a resolution that says a low-cost, affordable transport across the Alawai Canal, and that is a ferry or ferries. And this is aspirational. It's about thinking about the future and about good things that can come from being transported. Whenever you're on the water, you are essentially transporting yourself to a new place. And this would be wide vistas. The view planes are extensive of Diamond Head, of the Ko'olaus, I suppose Punch Bowl, and any of the other cityscapes. And it's a very peaceful thing. The ferry would be kind of like about the size of a bus, but wider. It would be controlled by one operator, and it would run just like the bus. In other words, you use your holo card to go across, and it would have only pedestrians and bicyclists. There would be no potential for gas mopeds or any other electric vehicles. It would be very easy transport. It would take you to another place and be easily transported back and forth. I've had a suggestion that it could be somewhere at the convention center, which would take a load off of people that are having to use their cars to get from Waikiki to the convention center, or from other areas that are generally speaking in your neighborhood. So I could entertain questions now, but I'd rather give a presentation with some visual images at your next meeting. So I would like some kind of show of approval for you people that might want to see the potential of having a ferry or ferries cross the Alawai Canal. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Laura Ruby, thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it. Do we have, Member Chang?
Can you put it on the next agenda? Thank you.
Member Chang, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to just make note that on the intersection of Sheridan and I can't think of the name of the street now.
Kapiolani.
No. Makaloa. They made it a four-way stop. So the interesting thing is, not even 100 yards away, where we asked them to put the delineator posts on Kapiolani and Sheridan, which has been in the process now, I think almost going over a year now. And in a very short matter of time, they changed that intersection, which was only a stop sign on the Makaloa Street, to a four-way with Makaloa and Sheridan. So I'm a little bit surprised at that that's not something we asked for, but it's something they did. I'm not sure what the statistics were for them to make that, but I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Chang. Appreciate it. Second Vice Chair Van der Brink.
I just wanted to comment that I did hear that they may be making Keamoku and Kapiolani into a four-way cross as well. I don't know if that's how far along they are in that conversation, but just to bring that out there.
Okay, thank you. First Vice Chair Rice.
I'd like to ask Rick Egged about Second Vice Chair Vanderbrink's comment about making it where all four corners walk at the same time, right? So they've done that in Waikiki now in 2 intersections, if I'm not mistaken. From your experience, has that been a success? Are people happy with that versus having it, 2 times, 2 ways? horizontally, let's say from Diamond Head to Everside, from Malka to Mackay. So now everybody goes at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The short answer is I don't have any conclusive information about that. My own just personal observation and experience is that it works pretty well. But I don't have any quantitative data on it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there are no other community concerns, let's move on. It's now 6:56 p.m. Elected official reports. In the interest of time, I did request both the elected officials and the agencies to send over their reports in writing unless there is a particular issue or subject that any of these offices or officials want to bring up. Then we are moving on. Okay, for our announcements, we have the street closures website, voter registration. You should have already received your ballots in the mail. We do have the website here to check for your voter registration status. Our Facebook social media account, our social media accounts are on Facebook and Instagram. Next action committee meeting will be on Thursday, August 13th, 2026, and the next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. Thank you, Olelo, for always being here. Thank you, Spencer, for having all of our meetings recorded. And our regular board meeting is now adjourned to make way for our candidate forum. Okay, so board members, feel free to sit anywhere. Yeah. Initially. Okay, if we can get the candidates that are running for office up here in the front. Here we go. Dale. No. Very
Tyler, how you doing? It's been a minute. In administration. That's fine. Actual tower. Nice view, but no, they're they're working me to death. So yeah, it's busy, but I'm sure it's not as busy as you guys are, no?
Yeah, it's fulfilling and whatever it is,
It is.
Supporting that.
Yeah, you know the joys of working with young people, developing the next generation of leaders. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. It's like getting all the all-stars here.
I'm totally winging it, just letting you guys know, okay?
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, we got it.
How long?
Okay, if everyone is ready and good to go, thank you for being here for the Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board Candidate Forum. We have 5 candidates running for office to represent our area, and they are here today. Just a couple of ground rules. Introductions will be 2 minutes. Camelia is our timekeeper. 90 seconds each will be allotted for answers to questions, and there will be closing of 1 minute per person. We do have, I'll turn this over to Dyson to explain the note cards.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to our candidates for being here. It's good to see all of your smiling faces and to all of our community members as well. For the note cards for our community members, if you are interested in asking any questions to our candidates, please feel free to write them down on the note cards using the pens provided at your tables. And then once you write down your note card, feel free to raise your hand or indicate to any of the people who have the shirts on with the NCO logo, any of the people who were sitting up front earlier. We'll come by, get your card, and then we'll put them in a stack and we'll read the questions for you as the night goes on. So please feel free, again, to write down your questions on those cards. Let us know if you want us to pick them up. We'll take them and read them for you as the night goes on. If you have a writing or visual disability and you need assistance with asking your question, please feel free to ask one of us. So we're here and we'd be happy to assist you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Dyson. I felt like I was at an amusement park there, so I appreciate your introduction. I'm unsure if you already mentioned it, but unless specified, the questions that will be asked will be directed to each candidate. As far as the turns go, we will be drawing it randomly, so it's not just like one person consistently starting out and one person being at the end. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to, and we do have questions from the board as well. So we'll start with that. I'll turn this over to Second Vice Chair Vanderbrink.
Thank you, Chair.
Apologies, I missed that part. 2-minute introduction for our community members to get to know each of you. So we'll start with Councilmember Tyler Dos Santos Ham.
Well, thank you, everyone. Aloha, I'm Tyler Dos Santos Tam. It's been an honor to represent the area from Ward Avenue all the way to Middle Street over the past 4 years. I'm not on the primary ballot, so I'm only in the general election ballot, but I'd like to earn your support in October/November, whenever it is that you get your ballot and you decide to turn it in. I was born and raised in Laliha and Lower Aleva Heights. I was on the Laliha Neighborhood Board for 6 years. And, being on the city council is a really wonderful position, one where you can make a really big difference. As you all know from being neighborhood board members, many of the issues that you face and hear from your neighbors about are city issues, whether the streets are safe for pedestrians, whether the buses run on time, whether our parks are clean and safe. And for me, all of these things boil down to one clear vision, and that is for us to make Honolulu a city that works. Because in a city that works, we have enough housing for our people here. In a city that works, the buses run on time and the rail project gets done in a timely way. And in a city that works, we are able to create great quality spaces for the public, for the people that live here. But it takes good policy to get there. And that's something that I'm really proud of working on over the past 4 years. If you take all of the bills introduced by city council members, not the ones that came from the administration and those that got passed into law, 57% of them came from my office. And these ranged from all kinds of different things, from big picture issues like expanding Skyline and making Honolulu the first city in the country to require every bar and nightclub to have Narcan to stop the opioid outbreak, down to small issues like dealing with homeless encampments in a specific area of Kalihi, dealing with cleaning up Chinatown, and also just dealing with all kinds of things. And I look forward to talking a little bit more as we go through the questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyler Dos Santos Tam, for that introduction. And again, the timer is there for the candidates to keep track. And Camelia will also raise up her hand with that little sign there when your time is up. The next candidate to be introduced is Representative Kaka'ako.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Kaka'ako Olds. I currently represent House District 23, Kapahulu, Mo'iliili, Makali, Ala Moana, and Pava'a. I was born and raised in Kailua. After graduating, I enlisted. I spent 8 years as a U.S. Army infantryman, 2 deployments to Iraq. Came home for 10 years. I worked with the homeless in our community as a social service provider. And that's what I was doing before I got elected. In office, my primary focus has been around homelessness and public safety. And it is something that I'm going to continue to champion as I move forward.
Thank you, Representative Olds, for that introduction. The next person will be Representative Adrian Tam.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you to the Ala Moana Neighborhood Board for hosting this forum this evening. My name is Adrian Tam. I have the very privilege of representing House District 24, which encompasses Waikiki and a little parts of Ala Moana, which is why you see me at this neighborhood board. I was born and raised here in urban Honolulu. Like most folks in Waikiki, my family moved around. I'm a proud graduate of our public schools, Go Falcons, Kalani High School. I went to, nice. I went to college on the mainland and came back to work for my family's small business, ultimately finding a job in state government, working for Speaker Emeritus Calvin Say and then Senator Stanley Chang, ultimately running for office myself. And my primary focus in office has always been about your quality of life, something that an issue that you care about is noise. It doesn't make the headlines, it's not controversial, you don't see it on cable news, but it's something that affects your daily life and it's keeping you up at night. And that is the kind of representative that I strive to be, someone that focuses on kitchen table issues, how to make your life better. And I would love for the honor to represent you one more time in the Hawaii State House.
Thank you, Representative Tam, for that introduction. The next person will be Mr. Victor Mu. I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you.
Moo like a cow would say it. So I'm aloha and mahalo to the Ala Moana Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board for hosting this forum. This is my first time running as a political candidate. And I am the Republican candidate for the State House District 23. What separates me from all the other candidates running in this election is that I'm a longtime Hawaii resident, but I've spent a quarter century, almost all my adult life, living overseas. And I've lived in China, I've lived in France, I've lived in Austria, I'm fluent in German, Chinese, and French. And in each of those places, I arrived with very little resources and had to start from scratch, building up enterprises and projects and businesses. And these experiences taught me resilience, personal responsibility, and how to make something out of almost nothing. Today, I operate a human optimization clinic on Kalakaua Avenue called Superhuman. And at my clinic, I look beyond symptoms to identify root causes of health and athletic performance issues. And I would bring that same root cause approach to the legislature. Ala Moana and Kaka'ako residents face high housing and condominium costs, expensive groceries and everyday necessities, high taxes, rising costs for small businesses, concerns about public safety and clean spaces, development and infrastructure that must serve existing residents. I'm not running to preserve the status quo. I want to make Hawaii self-sustainable, less reliant on imports, and exporting more. Mahalo for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Wu, for that introduction. And last but not the least, Representative Kim Koko Iwamoto.
Thank you so much to the Ala Moana Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board for hosting this candidate forum. Kim Koko Iwamoto, I'm honored to serve as the state representative for District 25, which goes from Ala Moana Shopping Center all the way through to Fort Street Mall. Let's see, I began my my adult career in Hawaii as a public interest attorney. I was the managing attorney of Volunteer Legal Services of Hawaii, and I was responsible for legal clinics across the state. And then I joined forces with many community members, and we worked on civil rights laws and amending civil rights laws to be more inclusive and protect more residents in the areas of housing, public accommodations, employment, and family status. And that's how I became familiar with the legislature. I know there's quite a few some members of the House who've actually not done much, had much business before the House before they got elected, whereas I've been there and I've studied a lot of the rules, and I'm very interested in the process of lawmaking. And one of my focuses has been to make sure that the process truly honors our democracy, specifically the concept of representational democracy, where every legislator has their voice heard and every community has their voice heard as well. I think I'm going to be on the primary ballot. I'm on the primary ballot, but because no one else is applying for this job, I don't think I'll be on the general election ballot. But yeah, so if I answer my questions more short, it's because I want to give more time to those who have contested races.
Thank you, Representative Kaka'ako Iwamoto, for that introduction. And again, for the community members that are out there, the note cards are there for you to fill out. If you do have questions, you can hand it to either members Chi or Van der Brink. We'll start off the first question with Second Vice Chair Van der Brink.
Thank you, Chair. So this question is actually, the intent is the same, but it'll be slightly different if you're an incumbent running for re-election or a non-incumbent running for election. So for the incumbents, can you give a reason why voters should re-elect you to another term? And for the non-incumbent, can you give a reason why voters should go in a new direction and elect you to office?
And just to remind the candidates, your response is 90 seconds.
Sorry, just to keep in the interest of fairness, we will just draw a name out of the hat to start with. So starting with Councilmember Tyler Dos Santos Tam.
Okay. Well, that's a great question. I'm very proud of my record. Again, as I mentioned, we've passed more legislation than any other council member, and it's dealt with big issues and small issues too. I think that MOFS has been very effective in pushing forward good policy. We are elected to do that. And, we're going to continue to do that in my next term. We have a lot of things on housing that we're going to be working on, transportation equity. I know that this is important for a lot of the folks that live in this community and try to get around to the urban core, especially those that don't have a car. And then also on our basic infrastructure issues. So I ask people to take a look at what I've worked on, and hopefully they'll choose to return me to Honolulu Hale.
Okay, next person who will answer that same question, Representative Kaka'ako Iwamoto.
First, so this is would be my second term. And so one of the reasons why I'm running again is because I'm not approaching any manifestation of a term limit. I do support term limits, and I've introduced a bill to allow the public or voters to vote on changing the Constitution to allow to impose term limits on legislators. And it hasn't gotten a hearing, but we'll see one day, maybe. Let's see, there's still a lot of work, obviously, to do on behalf of condo owners throughout our district and on behalf of those who rent. One of the bills I've submitted is to do a GET surcharge on empty homes. We have 74,000 empty homes across the state, and even just half of them paid the surcharge, we would have a lot of money to do subsidies for those, especially kupuna, who are struggling in affordable housing. And then also if we put half of those 74,000 units for sale or rent, it could bring down the prices and make it more affordable for Hawaii's residents.
Okay, thank you, Representative Iwamoto. The next person to respond to that question will be Mr. Victor Mu.
So my question is why you should vote for me. And I feel like if you feel like Hawaii needs a change and not more of the same, you should vote for me because I'm totally different than what everybody else has had as a life experience. And what this has taught me about Hawaii is that for the questions of public health and education and safe communities, it really comes down to lowering the cost of living, building back a strong economy, and raising the standard of living for everyone. And I have what I think are good ideas for achieving that. Notably, I want to make Hawaii more self-sustainable with less imports and more exports. Reducing unnecessary taxes and regulations, reviewing the state budget line by line. Where is our tax money going? Where are all these fees and taxes going? Identifying waste and redirecting resources to the core needs, supporting local businesses, expanding housing that residents can afford to own, promoting responsible development and infrastructure, and improving transparency and accountability in government.
Thank you, Mr. Mu, for that response. Next person will be Representative Adrian Tam.
Thank you for that question. From what I learned in my time in government is that it's a very long and arduous process. For example, I want to go back to the noise issue. In 2023, we passed a bill that would establish a pilot program for noise cameras to be established. 2024, 2025 came, we spent the time putting out an RFP. We put out, we got a request for proposal and we finally installed them early this year in 2026. Now, next year, I'm hoping to come back to make this program permanent after looking at the data that's been collecting this year so that we can make some teeth to put some teeth into it so we can start enforcing and improving our quality of life. Now, I'm not saying that just because it's long that you should vote for me. One of the reasons why I continue to be active in this community is because I actively love listening to the people and addressing their concerns. And I believe that our office has done a really good job doing that. I'm really proud of my staff, the team that I have, and the work that we put into ensuring that we bring stakeholders together to address these problems. And if reelected, I'll continue to address your needs and the needs of Hawaii to improve our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tam. And last but not the least, Representative Ikaika Olds.
So all the good responses have already been taken up. So, not gonna take from anybody. So why should be reelected? And that's a really important question. So our district had a long-term incumbent for 22 years, someone that the community had grown to love and trust and respect, someone who was reliable. And while it was sad that that individual moved on to bigger and better things, it created a vacuum and an opportunity. It's not very often that long-term incumbents leave. So it was able to provide the opportunity for the community to have a fresh face, fresh perspective. So I thought, why? There we go. And I could use my outside voice. So I figured I'd bring my experience. And again, the thing that made me different with candidates before, and the same thing that's going to make me different moving forward, is the fact that I focus on listening to the constituency. That is my focus. My job description is in the title, representative. I'm not there for my own agenda. I'm not there for my own gain. I'm there to enact the will of my community. And so to do that, you have to be accessible. To do that, you have to be candid. And while in session, I made it a priority that anybody who called my office would get a call back from me within 48 hours. And I will continue to listen to the community and fight for public safety and quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ikaika Olds, for that response. The next question will be asked by Member Chi.
Our next question is on housing and homelessness. Hawaii is failing to build enough new homes simply to meet our population growth. Per the Office of the Governor's Housing Team, we need 10,000 new homes built per year just to keep up with population growth. Yet we are only building 4,000 per year. This shortfall leads to ever increasing housing costs and more people ending up homeless. What specifics do you think should be done to address this housing and homelessness crisis?
Thank you, Treasurer Chi. And if you folks need the question to be repeated, just let us know. So the first person to respond to it will be Councilmember Tyler DeSantis Tam.
Man, Kathleen, you need to like shake up the little cup. It's totally fine. This is my favorite topic to talk about. We are indeed in a housing shortage, but this also is a multifaceted issue, right? It's not just that we don't have enough housing. It's also there's not enough housing at the prices that local people can afford. We also don't have enough units that are put out for rent rather than for sale, and that they're also not always in the right place. And we look at here in Kaka'ako where we have huge skyscrapers coming up. We look out in Kapolei where every time you blink, it looks like there's a new subdivision. But what's missing is this kind of stuff in the middle, right? 2, 3, 4-story walk-up apartments. You go up to the next district up here in Makiki, and for decades, for 3 decades, there really hasn't been any new small to medium-sized apartment construction. This is an area that I really want to focus on. We passed Bill 6, which was my proposal to allow a little bit more flexibility in our existing apartment zone so we don't have to rezone any new land, but we can squeeze some additional density and put some additional units in apartment zones where apartments belong. In my next term, I look forward to expanding what's allowed in our business districts. So that's things like King Street, Yonge Street, and Beretania corridor. You drive down those streets and you have kind of 2-story things and there's not housing above restaurants. There can be housing above restaurants. There can be these sorts of things without resorting to, the high rises and continuing to pave over ag land out on the other side.
Thank you, Council Member. Next up is Representative Adrian Tam.
Thank you. First, I support everything that Councilmember DeSantis Tam just said. I just want to also add that one of the most priciest things about developing housing in Hawaii is infrastructure. Something that I actually believe in is that we should partially subsidize some infrastructure costs for housing developments that are going to be below the AMI for local residents. This is something that Washington does through the Connecting Housing to Infrastructure program, otherwise known as CHIP. And it has been a widely successful program, and it has brought housing for many folks there. And this is something that I think that the legislature should really consider. Something that we've also done was that we've made it easier for current commercial buildings to be developed into mixed-use housing buildings at the legislature back in 2024.
Thank you, Representative Tam. Now we go to Representative Kim Coco Iwamoto.
So one of the challenges I see observing some of the affordable housing projects going up, there seems to be a problem when we do these private-public partnerships. We cannot actually make sure that they are truly affordable. I would like to see the state or even the county do more investment in and buy land. Have the housing built for rentals, and then actually manage the rental and keep the prices so that no resident in those units or in those buildings are paying more than 1/3 of their income on housing costs. That is the standard platform of the National Democratic Party. It's not part of the Hawaii Democratic Party's platform, but I subscribe to that not more than 1/3 of our income should be spent on housing. And that's how we really support a diverse, residents of all income levels. And also another concern is that we only have 1 shelter bed for every 2 unhoused neighbor. And that's a problem focus on as well. And I support raising the revenue to commit to providing those resources to make more supply happen.
Thank you, Representative Iwamoto. Next up, Mr. Victor Mu.
So what can be done about housing? Well, first of all, what I've observed is that the cost of building new housing is so expensive because up to 58% of the cost is actually due to regulations. And even if you buy a prefabricated house, it's treated like it's a unique construction. So if you just remove those barriers, you're going to drop the price of housing right there, make it more affordable. The other thing is, I would like to convert these low-income rental units into low-income units that the people own. So that are owned by the state and can only be sold back to the state. And any equity is passed on to the next generation if the owner passes. The third thing I would like to do is actually try to audit anybody that's not a Hawaii resident when they purchase property in Hawaii. Where is that money coming from? I think that's very important because otherwise you're getting people here with dirty money and laundering it through real estate and driving up prices at the same time.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Mill. And last but not the least, Representative Kaka'ako.
Oh man, everybody took all the good answers again. So, one of the big issues that we have in our community is, so our community is already relatively affordable to live in because much of the infrastructure and buildings that exist were built back in the 50s and the 60s, oftentimes by Nisei veterans who came home and invested in the properties that they were living in. And so what we're starting to see now is an aged community and ultra vulnerable kupuna are starting to find themselves getting priced out of their homes. The homes that they grew up in, they could have been spending 80 years in with no place to go that's affordable for them. Kupuna housing needs to be built. And again, when we talk about things like AMI, Kool-Aid Place just had a presentation at the Makalimu'ili Neighborhood Board yesterday. Their AMI was so high that somebody who's making six figures can buy affordable housing. And while yes, they wanted it for people who are working class and starting their families, just like myself, what ended up happening was you would buy a $533,000 unit, but you only had 591 square feet. So you're buying a closet. And unfortunately, what we are forgetting about is what are we doing about the kupuna? Yes, they don't need as much square footage for their developments, but we need to start doing this now because as generations continue to age, it's going to become a crisis. And we're already starting to see more kupuna on the street, and it's harder to serve them when they're in that predicament. So we need more kupuna housing.
Thank you, Representative Olds. Next question, we'll be turning to Member Farinas.
In light of recent events of corruption and bribery charges, my question is twofold. What campaign finance reforms do you support? And specifically, how will you ensure your decisions remain insulated from the influence of major donors?
Okay, let's start with Representative Kimiko Koyomoto.
It's my favorite topic. So I'm part of the Good Government Caucus, and I think I ran my initial campaign on reforming or strengthening the integrity and good government in general, getting rid of corruption, or at least closing all of those the loopholes and the mechanisms. Even if we look at what's going on right now on the headlines, a lot of the levers that were flicked were because committee chairs had the unilateral power to kill a bill. I know some of us proposed that as a rule change to take that unilateral power away from chairs, but it wasn't received by leadership and it wasn't moved out of the rules committee. And so that's a problem. And so I would like to see more of that. I'll keep pushing for those issues. We also have to take out campaign to campaign contributions. I call that money laundering because let's say you are Big Pharma and you give a $2,000 check to one legislator and then you maxed out. But you can give them more if you give to this other legislator who has no race. and then they give another 2,000. So, right, the same source is giving more than the mats. I can talk more about this.
Thank you, Representative Iwamoto. Next person, Representative Adrian Tam.
Thank you. One thing I continue to champion is a full-time legislature. If we have a full-time legislature, we'll be able to hear more bills, work on more bills, and not have to wait. So I always think that it's ridiculous that we have this hard deadline of January 28th to 31st to introduce bills. So if you come to me on February 1st with a bill idea, I'll have to tell you, I'm sorry, but you have to wait till January 20 the next year to bring this idea back to me. And when we have a full-time legislature, we can bar legislatures from holding outside positions that run a conflict of interest in the legislature. Something that I recently realized that is technically legal is for someone to hire a legislature, give them tiny mundane tasks like probably attend one meeting and sharpen pencils, and pay them an exorbitant amount for influence at the legislature. I think that's a huge loophole that's technically legal. And if we had a full-time legislature, that wouldn't happen.
Thank you, Representative Tam. Mr. Victor Mu.
I've never been in a public office before, so I'm not that familiar with how corruption works in public office, but I do want to improve transparency and accountability in government just from my interactions with public officials. I know that in my own personal and business life, where I was in situations where corruption does run rampant, I felt revolted by it more than attracted by it. The entertainment industry, the media industry is rife with this sort of thing. And I wasn't very popular for it, but I lost an advertising agency because I refused to go along with the status quo. But you can count on me for not falling for any kind of corruption or bribery. Mahalo.
Thank you, Mr. Mu. Councilmember Tyler DeSantos Tam.
Well, I look forward to supporting the reforms that my counterparts across Punchbowl Street put forward, since all of this is within the purview of the state. I think one other thing that we don't often get is, notwithstanding the legislators who are here with me, is an explanation of their votes, right? And across the street and even at the city council, we go to committee and we just sort of go along with the committee chair. And that's that. And I think that if we had a way of really being held to account to explain why we voted a certain way, I think that would make people a lot more transparent in the way that they do things. And would also cut down on this sort of idea that, well, the last person that talked to you, that's how you're going to vote. And oftentimes that's behind closed doors with, a lobbyist or whatever. And I think that I've always been really proud. You can follow me on Instagram. I usually explain a lot of the bills and why I vote one way or the other on them.
Thank you, Councilmember. And Representative Kaka'ako.
So, one of the big things about this is accountability really starts with us, right? As a legislator, whether we're in the House or in the Senate or in the Council, is accountability really comes down to us. And what we do needs to begin with us, because oftentimes what we do cannot be seen by everybody. And one example is, I stood against big tobacco. I was against flavored vaping and flavored tobacco products. And big tobacco had offered me a sizable check and told me that, hey, we like what you do and we want to let you know that, we're trying to make things safer. But you have to stand up for your principles. And it's hard, especially as a first-time legislator, where you have to raise money to turn down a check. And I'm very proud to do that. Another thing is, I really feel like getting money out of politics really begins with how elections are ran. This past session, I had worked with the AG's office to introduce a bill to cap spending for elections that would mimic what we are allowed to spend if we're using public funds. And that way it makes money fair. It shouldn't be about who can raise $100,000. It should be, okay, well, you can only just say 20. That's all you have to work with. Everybody is on an equal playing field. Manage your budget and see what you can do with that to win the people's vote. So it's something that I look forward to introducing. I have to refine it a little bit. We had some hiccups, but that's where it starts. We have to try to take money out that way.
Thank you, Representative. The next question will be from one of our note card questions. Member Chi.
From our community members, do you believe HCDA should investigate the reported defect in this reserved housing unit before selling it to another local family? And for context, this was the unit, I believe it was at Ulana Ward.
Okay, Councilmember Tyler DeSantos Town.
Well, I look forward to my state counterparts that are working on this. And I want to compliment Rep. Iwamoto, who's just been a really good counterpart in working with the issues in Kaka'ako and HCDA. So I want to thank her for that. HCDA certainly should look into it. That's sort of the short answer. I do want to mention there's one other issue at Ulana that is a city issue, and that is the property tax issue. I don't know if anyone's talked to the board members about this, but the people who bought at Ulana got their keys, I don't know, let's say it's November 1st. The deadline to file for the owner-occupant exemption is September 30th. And so as a result, everybody in that building, which is an owner-occupant only building, missed the deadline, and they're considered not owner-occupants for tax reasons. And so their tax bill is much, much higher than they all thought. So we have a bill that's moving through right now. We hopefully will get it out by September that would create what's called a remission process. So after they've paid in the correct amount, they actually get refunded for the difference. It's a little goofy that you have to pay it in and then get it refunded, but that's the way that the real property treasury office works. And hopefully we can solve that issue. There's also an issue of how property taxes are calculated in affordable housing projects versus just regular market ones, and we're also working through that. But immediately, we're hoping that we can get the property tax remission done for the owners at Ulana.
Thank you, Council Member. Representative Kim Koko Iwamoto.
The short answer is yes. I feel there should be a disclosure of anything that's flawed with a unit. I mean, I believe in transparency. I believe in protecting consumers who put their whole life savings into a dwelling, and then they find out that for them it's uninhabitable and or causes health problems. I feel if HCDA knows that, or even a developer knows that there's a problem, they should disclose that. Absolutely. I want to use my last minute though to address something that Representative Olds mentioned about capping the spending. I feel like that idea, if you're capping campaign spending, the amount you're allowed to expend, there's a false equalization, because we as sitting legislators, we're allowed to use public funds to do like 7 mailers to our district in the months running up to the election. And that doesn't count for expenditure. So that's what I'm concerned about. I think there was one representative who was appointed in April and spent like $13,000 on mailers of public taxpayer money. So that's a concern.
Thank you, Representative Iwamoto. Mr. Victor Mu.
I believe that any government agency should be held the same standards that a private company is held to when dealing with whether it's housing or food or any kind of service. So yes, I do believe that the HCDA should make sure that dwellings are safe and livable before selling it on.
Thank you for your response, Mr. Mu. Representative Ikaika Olds.
Short answer is yes. I agree with the previous speakers. The government, we should be holding ourselves to a higher standard. And we should be doing that. Yes.
And last but not the least, Representative Adrian Tam.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have another note card question.
Okay, so from the note cards for all the candidates, why do you think the Beretania South King Street corridors remain undeveloped with relatively unutilized structures remaining from Pi'ikoi to University Avenue?
Representative Kaka'ako.
So, you know, I don't want to defer this question, but it sounds like there might be a this might be a zoning issue, mixed in with probably the cost of whatever these properties are. You know, there are a lot of businesses, and we are starting to see some changes on these corridors. So on King Street, right now on around University, Camp Schools is developing a lot of that space. Now, are they turning it into housing? In one case, they have. They turned it into student housing. So I think times are starting to change, and we may start to see a little bit more development along those corridors between Pi'ikoi and University, but it's to be seen.
Thank you. Mr. Victor Mu.
Well, so my clinic is pretty much on King. It's on Kalakaua, just Makai of King Street. And I can tell you, my rent is exorbitant. So that's the first thing. But what I think is it all comes back to the economy and reducing the cost of living, yes, but increasing the high standard of living. Why do I keep focusing on becoming self-sustainable as a state, as almost a country in and of itself because of our geographical location? Because every time we import something from the mainland or internationally, that's our wealth leaving the island. And it doesn't come back. So we constantly have to build wealth. And that's just draining our economy, making it more difficult for people to buy the things that they need or even want, and more difficult for people to build businesses that will revitalize Beretania and King.
Thank you, Mr. Mu. Representative Kim Kokoimoto.
I'm thinking about this new development that I on King Street. Well, we know there's storage companies popping up, self-storage. And one of the problems with that is, and I think we've heard testimony from a lot of real estate investment trusts that do not pay taxes on their profits that they generate in Hawaii, unlike other businesses who pay taxes on their profits. Real estate investment trusts do not. And so that's I think that could be part of the problem, is that these developers who are they're building storage, which is something we may not need, but if it is profitable, they're not taxed on it. As opposed to a developer building maybe affordable housing, they might, or just somebody building housing, they might actually have to pay more taxes on their profits, and that might be a problem for them as opposed to a REIT. And so for me, I think we need to close those REIT loopholes that allow a lot of these are out-of-state investors, and have them pay their fair share of taxes. It's not completely answering the question, which is a little bit out of my zone, but that's what I have to share about that.
Thank you, Representative Iwamoto. Representative Adrian Tam.
This is not in my district, but I had to look at a map about it. But the question was, why is the corridor between King and Beretania underdeveloped, right? So it could be because the parcels are too small. It could be because there is way too much commercial activity and not too much commercial use in that area, not enough residential to keep it lively enough for individuals to want to develop something. Short answer for me is I don't know. I don't own any property in that corridor. But it'll be interesting to try to find out why.
Okay, thank you. Well, this is a topic that I'm very excited about, and this is like my favorite topic of all. And I actually brought it up in my introduction. So we're actually going to be working on this hopefully this fall. There's kind of three reasons. One is it comes down to the zoning. Our zoning code was set in 1978, and that was the last time we did a major update. And back then, what was considered high density was nowhere near what we would think today. And so ironically, right now you can build more in the apartment zones, so Makiki in Lower Laliha, on Wailea Avenue, than you can on the King Street or Beretania corridor by right now. Otherwise, you have to go get exemptions. And of course, you've had a number of projects come through here, as well as the Makiki Neighborhood Board asking for exemptions through different programs. What I'd like to do is have a sensible policy about how much density is allowed, for these areas in the business zones. The second thing is DPP makes it really difficult for property owners who own two adjacent properties that are maybe too small to do anything interesting on their own to consolidate them. As Rep. Tam mentioned, a lot of the parcels are really small. In fact, if you take Rycroft, Pensacola, Keomoku, and Beretania, draw that square, there are 39 pairs of properties that are owned by the same owner that could be consolidated, and you could do something really interesting. And finally, I think the last thing that we need to do is implement some of the recommendations. Primary Urban Center Development Plan, which actually have talked about this.
Thank you, Council Member. The next question will be one of our note card questions.
Thank you, Chair. So this question is, considering that many of the social safety net cuts with the Big Beautiful Bill Act are expected to take effect later this year and next year, what are the impacts do you anticipate for the vulnerable residents of Hawaii? And I would like to add on a personal anecdote and say that my student loan payments tripled as of last night as a result. So that's just one aspect of that to add on to that question.
Representative Kim Kokoyamoto.
So, I think we're going to have to, as a state, as the legislature, since the legislature is the branch of government that has the power to raise revenue in creative ways. As I mentioned earlier, the empty homes GET surcharge. We can change the conveyance tax schedule so that more affordable homes we can lower those conveyance tax rates, and we can raise the conveyance tax rates for luxury homes over $4 million to generate revenue. There's a bunch of different ways that we can generate revenue, and I think if we are going to continue the social safety nets, that the One Big Beautiful Bill is undermining. Also, we have to remember that the One Big Beautiful Bill did give the wealthiest 1%, huge tax savings. Maybe I think it was like $63,000 per household. And so we're not, we need to, so there's a lot of money that basically bypassed Hawaii that went to the, that we might need to draw down directly from the wealthiest households.
Thank you, Representative Iwamoto. Councilmember Tyler DeSantos Tam.
Well, this is a topic that I think about a lot. The city, Rep. Iwamoto just talked about the empty homes tax. That bill failed basically, and it's not moving forward. And I've been a strong proponent of it because I think that these folks who are buying a property here, not giving locals a chance to own these properties, need to be paying more. The city can also have its own social safety net, and it does in a lot of ways. We provide housing for many folks exiting homelessness. We provide grants to small businesses, and we need to do a lot more of that. My counterparts at the city council just gutted the Office of Economic Revitalization, which is the office that gets federal grants and distributes them. And I think that at a time like this, that was the big mistake to gut that office. But knowing this context, the question is, what can we do to make things easier for the people who are just working really hard here and shift some of that burden to these kind of rich outsiders who are buying a property and those who have the means to pay for it. And so, in the next term, I look forward to working on our property tax issue to make that a little bit more fair. And what I mean by that is exactly that. It's for people who own their own place, people who are, renting to local folks. How do we shift the burden to those who, aren't contributing in that way, who are, just flying in and buying up a 42nd floor penthouse?
Thank you, Councilmember Tyler DeSantos Tam. Representative Adrian Tam.
Thank you. The Big Beautiful Bill has a lot of severe ramifications for the most vulnerable here in Hawaii. And it's up to us as elected officials to work with stakeholders to rewrite their policies so that they're not run afoul of DEI that the federal administration seems to think is ruining this country, which I vehemently disagree with. And it's up to the state to make some very tough decisions. This year, there was a proposal to pause the income tax cuts that we put into law. And instead of doing that, we gave a stronger tax cut for those that are making less money. But we created a wealth tax through that, which will generate a lot of revenue for our state so we can continue to have revenue to support the most vulnerable people in Hawaii. We often talk about how homelessness is a big issue. Well, how are we going to tackle homelessness if there's no funding to help them? And, at the same time, I recognize that we live in a capitalist society, that we need to spur economic activity. There's a lot of programs that helps export items here. We have state offices in Beijing and Taipei, and we're hoping to establish, we already established one in the Philippines as well. And we work closely with Japan as well as Korea to expand our products to ship out there. And that's something that I'm committed to working with as a member of the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, Rep. Tam. Mr. Victor Mu.
I think the social safety net cuts should be looked at as a temporary but necessary thing to stop the corruption. We're losing billions of dollars of our money, of Federal Reserve money, to corruption. So right now, there may be an overcorrection, but it will fix itself. It will come back and everything will be even better than before. I'm not familiar with how the social safety net applies to student loans. We can talk about that afterwards. But what I would like to do is really focus on rebuilding our economy. What I said about our wealth leaving, this is what I've observed in Europe and in China, is that they're very protective of their economies. So they're very, very aware, especially China knows not to let their wealth leave their country. So the other thing I've noticed is going to the United Emirates, where they have sovereign wealth funds. The government generates so much money that they're able to make sovereign wealth funds for their citizens. And I think Hawaii is in a similar situation, not with oil, but with visitors and the military.
Thank you, Mr. Mu. Representative, I don't know if it's just luck of the draw, but Representative Kaka'ako holds.
Keeping my space at the back of the bus. So I wasn't on the finance committee these last two sessions, and so I wasn't there to watch how they were itemizing the budget. But I can tell you from experience sitting on the Human Services and Homelessness and on the health committees that we had to mobilize to plug many gaps. And I think it's disingenuous to say that, a kapuna having to choose between food and healthcare is a necessity, but there are people facing that. So we have food insecurity issues, we have healthcare issues, and oftentimes, again, kapuna are some of our most vulnerable people because they live on fixed income. And they rely on their social nets to ensure that they get the quality of life that they're looking for. At a minimum, their healthcare and some liquidity, some funds to be able to buy food for themselves. I agree with the previous speakers in terms of the methodologies that we've tried to move to make more income. And I think that the legislature, we're going to have to continue to watch what's happening on a federal level because, just this war with Iran, look at our gas prices. And almost everything we have here in Hawaii is touched by gas. So if gas is more expensive, everything is more expensive. And we're going to have to figure out as this continues to move, what we're going to be doing hopefully the war is done by next session, but we'll have to see.
Thank you, Rep. Olds. The next question will be asked by Member Chi.
This is the perfect segue because this question is about cost of living. So Hawaii is one of the most expensive states to live in. Am I hearing some feedback? Hawaii is one of the most expensive states to live in. Everyday costs are becoming more affordable, or excuse me, less affordable for residents, including transportation, rent, food, childcare, and more. What specific legislative actions do you think need to be done to reduce the everyday cost of living for residents? And on a personal note, this one hits me very hard because my girlfriend and I are considering leaving the islands in the next year because we can't afford to live in Hawaii anymore.
Okay, thank you, Member Chi. Councilmember Tyler DeSantis Tam.
Thank you. Well, this is a question of how government uses its power to help the people that need the help the most. About 7 months ago, my colleagues decided to raise the bus fares by $10 a month for people that use monthly pass. That's $120 a year. For a family of 2 parents and 2 kids, it's $360 a year just to get around our island. This is clearly a move in the wrong direction, and we need to be doing the opposite. And so in the next few months, I look forward to expanding our reduced fare program. Right now, we've set aside $1.5 million for reduced bus fares for people, and it's only about 38% used. We are leaving money on the table that should be going to people that need it the most. And so I look forward to working to expand that program and also make it easier for people to qualify for that. Similarly, there's a number of other programs that we tried to implement. So for our sewer fees, I know the sewer fees went up on July 1st for some families. For some families, though, it went down. And that's something that I'm actually proud of working on because knowing that we need to pay for infrastructure, we found a way for the people who are trying to save the most water to reduce their sewer fees. And then we also created a $14 million program to offset these fees if you apply for it. And I hope everyone applies for it if you qualify to get $240 off your sewer bill every year.
Thank you, Council Member. Representative Tam.
Thank you. Cost of living continues to affect me as well. And one of the things that has been a priority of mine since I was elected was the topic of diversifying our economy. I believe that we are too dependent on tourism. I think that, diversifying our economy actually complements tourism. It allows us to build more economic opportunities outside of an industry that is very fragile because we saw the tourism industry basically shut down during the pandemic, as well as the Lahaina wildfires. And, one of the ways we do is creating more exports too, and working with our state offices outside of the state when we are able to build more cargo, that's more flights coming into the States, that's more job opportunities for our people here that pays more. And as a plus, we have airfare competition. Diversifying into the film industry is something that we did this year where we passed tax incentives, where we created more jobs for people that are local creators, as well as folks that are working in sound and tech. And that is almost like indirect marketing for people to want to visit the state. So at the same time, I think that as a state, we have to continue to press our federal government to finish or end this war that we apparently won like 8 or 7 times already. But, I think one of the best approaches that we can take is through diversifying our economy and passing the empty homes tax.
Thank you, Representative Tam. Representative Kim Kokorimoto.
So for childcare, I introduced a bill that would require state buildings to set aside room for either childcare or kapuna care or both. And then any amount of, if it's $5 million or more for renovating an existing building, that building, and again, I should clarify by saying it's for state-owned buildings that either house at least 250 people or where 250 people work. So it would allow for childcare providers to get the space at a reduced rate. They could lower the cost for people working in the building or living in the building, but they can also use the savings to pay higher wages, because that's part of the childcare crisis right now. Is they can't recruit enough workers for the low wages. Regarding other affordability issues such as obviously, I bet everyone supports removing GET on food, medicine, medical supplies, menstrual products, diapers. I feel like if we could do that and then replace it with a luxury tax on luxury cars, for instance.
Thank you, Representative Iwamoto. Victor Mu.
Cost of living is something I'm very concerned about. It's also impacting myself as a person as well as my clinic. We have to be more self-sustainable. We have to diversify our economy. We have to focus on our strengths. And one of the strengths is grass grows like weeds on this island. And what eats grass? Ruminants. We don't need to import beef from the mainland. We don't need to import sheep from the mainland. We don't need to import deer from the mainland. They're like rats on some of these islands. That will, if we can get the consumer or residents to start eating more of what we can actually grow on the island, then that means less reliance on imports. And that ties into the Jones Act. We have to do something about the Jones Act because this is just it's not sustainable for Hawaii. You look at gas prices. The gas has to go to the mainland and get shipped back over here. And then taxes. So like California, our gas prices are high because of a lot of taxes. Everywhere else in the nation, it's even with this conflict in Iran, prices have stabilized, are actually going down. So we have to focus on root causes.
Thank you, Mr. Victor Mu. Rep. Olds.
So I've spoken a lot about Kapuna, and I think this is a prime opportunity to shift the age group here because of the individual who asked the question. I feel for you. So when my wife and I were planning to have children, we had to budget, we had to finance to see whether or not we could afford to have a child. And one thing that I'm really big on, and I continue to support in the legislature, is expanding preschools. So 0 to 5 is the most important neurological development in a child's life, and 5 years old is when you start entering school, unless you pay for it. And what I want to see is preschools going down to 2 years old. One, it creates an opportunity for parents to be able to give what's best for their child, but also it's childcare. So you're 2 birds with 1 stone. And what we're going to end up seeing is we're going to get more development from these children because they're going to be getting access to quality education earlier in life. That's not what wasn't available when I was young, unless you had the money. And something interesting, I got 24 seconds. So just my health insurance when my son was born went up $2,000. The preschool tuition was another $2,500 for my 2 kids. That's more than mortgages. So to keep young people here that want to live their life here and raise a family, this is one avenue that will benefit our community in totality.
Thank you, Representative Kaka'ako Olds. We're down to the last question of the evening, which will be asked by Member Vanderbrink.
Thank you, Chair. So this question will be similar to Lori's one, but it'll be very specific on the instances of what happened last week. So last week, Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke and former Rep. Ryan Yamane and others were charged. These included bribery and campaign finance violations. It has not been long since former Senator Kalani English and former Rep. Ty Cullen were charged and later convicted of similar crimes. So this is a two-part question. The first is, has our legislator done enough to pursue good government reforms and combat bribery? Yes or no, and please explain. And the second part is, do you think Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke should resign based on what has happened thus far?
Okay, let's start with Representative Kaka'o.
Front of the bus. For the first question, to speak candidly, I don't know if we have done enough as a legislature for good government reforms. There's been movement, and I think Rep. Iwamoto might be able to speak a little bit better to this with all of the efforts that were being done through the Good Government Caucus. But I think there's a lot more that we can do. I think transparency is a big one. And with the recent rulings, we are going to see how that's going to play out as we move forward. We haven't gotten any formal briefing on what that's going to look like, but we could do better. You can always do better. Up until there's a camera in my office, we can do better. You can watch 24 hours a day. 47 seconds. So part two, I think it would be appropriate for the LG to resign, make things formal. That way the transition will be clean. And we'll see what happens. But all of these people who were indicted, they are innocent until proven guilty. And I hope through the investigation, the truth comes out. And if they are guilty, then they're punished appropriately to make an example for anybody else who's thinking about doing things like this.
Thank you, Representative Old. Representative Adrian Tam.
Thank you. I think that we can do more in terms of government reforms for good governance. As I mentioned, I think that we need to move to a full-time legislature. Regarding Lieutenant Governor Luke's resignation, I believe that everyone's innocent until proven guilty. But I do want to point out that this question is quite sexist because we're not asking for Fujikami to resign, even though he's still getting paid.
Thank you, Representative Tam. Councilmember Tyler DeSantis Tam.
I look forward again to supporting the efforts of my legislative counterparts on this. With regard to perspective on this, because in addition to being on the city council, I'm also honorary consul for Portugal. And why is this relevant? The lieutenant governor's most important job, besides, I guess, being ready to become governor if something were to happen, is they process these like international notaries and name changes. And I'm actually weirdly one of the biggest users of this service on behalf of, I'm the only one that speaks Portuguese and does this. So a lot of Brazilians and a few Portuguese here. And, even though Lieutenant Governor Luke has stepped aside and there's now an acting lieutenant governor, that work continues. And so whether she resigns or not, that work is going to continue. And I think that that's something that's really important. But I'd like to also echo what Rep. Tam said, which is, or it was a Rep. Olds, that, this still has to go to court. And so whether she resigns now or after a potential conviction, that work's going to continue. And I don't think it really makes that much of a difference in terms of that workflow. And so in this instance, because she hasn't been convicted, I do think that there is sort of a due process thing that needs to play out here. And I hope that people would be patient to let that court case run through in the interest of sort of the justice system.
Thank you, Council Member. Representative Kim Kokoimoto.
So regarding Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke, I think she volunteered to step down without pay. I think that was she initiated that. So I'm not sure what difference it makes to have her step out of the formal role because, as was mentioned, that the work of the Lieutenant Governor's office continues to happen. Obviously, if I were in that situation, I may resign, but she's already volunteered to go without pay. Maybe that's the next step for her. I don't know. I don't feel it's my place to call that up. What is my place, I feel, as a member of the House, is to demand more from the legislature. That is the body that I'm a part of. I did submit a resolution to reinstitute the Foley Commission so that they can further investigate. And what Judge Foley just came out with, I think in today's Civil Beat, was he finally said it's a culture of corruption. It's not a couple of bad seeds or bad apples in the barrel. It's not a couple. This is a culture of corruption that we have failed to really address or to take seriously. And so that's what I'll leave you with.
Thank you, Representative Yamamoto. Last but not least, Mr. Victor Mu.
I agree with Representative Olds. She shouldn't resign unless she's found guilty. Right now, she's been indicted, but you can indict a potato. So that doesn't mean very much. That being said, I think it's important to recognize what politicians do. It's a duty to the community. It's a civil service, and the founders of this great nation, the United States of America, they left their careers and professions and they stepped into office. And then when they were done, they left and they went back to their lives. And right now, if you look at running for office or being in office as your job or run it as a business, that opens the door to a lot of these situations. Now, some of us, like Representative Olds, he's served our nation in a martial capacity, and now he's serving in a civil capacity, and kudos to him. I didn't serve in the military, so I want to do my duty to this, like I said, this great nation, and give back. And I hope that politicians will think more like this.
Thank you, Mr. Mu. So we appreciate the community members for being here and the candidates for answering all the questions that we've brought on to you folks this evening. If you could wrap up in 1 minute what you would like the community to know about you. Representative Olds.
Okay. I had never sought to be in political office before I found myself in political office. I got into because of I am a father, I am a husband, and my first and foremost responsibility was to my family. And something very dangerous had happened next door that had inspired me to use some of my knowledge for the betterment of the state. And winning my election and entering office, I have become one of the, I guess you could say, subject matter experts when it comes to homelessness within our body. And what I want to continue to do is to help strive to find resolutions for this, to resolve the homeless issue that has just been spiraling for so long, with boots on the ground experience, specifically in that realm. And that's a very unique experience, and I will continue to be a voice for the community in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ikaika Olds. Representative Kim Kokoyo-Moto.
Thank you again for inviting us. Before I forget, I do have these giveaways. It says, "Together we can do better," with my little campaign logo. Because normally when I'm here in my official capacity as a state representative, so I can't give out things like this. But tonight I'm here as a candidate, so please help yourself to a mug on your way out. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kim Kokoyo-Moto. Mr. Victor Mu.
All right, so one country I've never been to is Morocco. So I'm going to take all of us through time and space and go back to 1943 for the Casablanca Conference and a conversation between Franklin D. Roosevelt and Winston Churchill. Roosevelt, who was a Democrat, argued that a community or a colony at that time should receive a return for its own wealth and resources. He explained that increasing wealth requires developing local industry, educating people, raising their standard of living, improving health and sanitation. That principle applies to Hawaii today. Too much of our wealth leaves our islands, while local families struggle to afford housing, food, insurance, and other necessities. We must build a stronger, more self-sufficient economy that creates opportunity here and raises the standard of living for our own people. If elected, I will focus on root causes, follow the facts, and work on practical solutions that ensure Hawaii prosperity benefits the people who call Hawaii home.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wood.
Mahalo.
Appreciate it. Representative Adrian Tam.
Thank you to the board for inviting us and holding this candidate forum. It is a privilege to be here and it is a privilege to represent you, the people in the Hawaii State House. I'm running for re-election because I believe in practical solutions. I believe that you deserve a voice at the Capitol. I mean, you deserve someone that's going to put you above everything else, and that's what I continue to do. I believe that you deserve someone that will focus on your needs and your quality of life and not the noise that oftentimes crowd our political system and create public discourse that sometimes becomes uncivil. I also believe that you deserve the truth. And that is why tonight you've heard a lot of candid answers like the last one I just gave. And that is what I'm going to continue to do as your state representative, which is prioritize you and give you the truth. Thank you, and I hope that you'll vote for me.
Thank you, Representative Adrian Tam. Councilmember Tyler DeSantis Tam.
Well, thank you. It's been a great pleasure to serve this community as well as the communities Eva of here all the way to Kalihi on the City Council for the past 4 years. As I mentioned at the beginning, my vision is for Honolulu to be a city that works, one that creates enough housing for the local people who live here, one that supports quality public spaces, safe spaces, and quality public transportation that gets people to where they need to go. We can do this together, but this doesn't happen by accident. We as legislators, we as policymakers don't have magic wands. But what we do have is the ability to make incremental change, to put forward good ideas, to fight as hard as we can to get them over the finish line. And that's exactly what I've worked to do over the past 4 years and will continue to do if elected to a new term with your support. So thank you.
Thank you. And if we can give a round of applause to the candidates for being here this evening. It's not easy what you folks are doing. It's a calling, you know, and your interview is walking the district, talking to people. And I hope that you know that you running means a lot to us because we're always, you know, we're a part of the community. And I just appreciate how you folks are stepping forward to make sure that we are represented. So thank you for being here this evening. And that concludes our evening. Thank you everyone for coming. If we can get the board members and the folks running to stay for a bit, just so we can get a photo with all of you folks.
I learned what squeezes are.